Thanks again for joining me for another episode of Bauman's Breakdown. As always, this is Mike Bauman from Toledo Sports Network and Toledo Free Press coming at you, giving you episode 6 now of Bauman's Breakdown with my lovely boss / producer, Mike Jameson. Mike, how are you?
Lovely?
Yeah.
Lovely. I feel lovely today. After all this wind and everything we've been getting, I feel lovely.
Yeah, coming at you, as always, from Northwest Ohio. We are starting to transition now into our medieval months, so to speak, Dark Ages months. It's starting to get cold and windy out there, and we're starting to feel the effects from the big storm that's on the news. What's her name? Sandy this time?
Yeah,
Is
Sandy.
it Sandy?
Sandy's blowing the East Coast away.
Yeah, and it's everybody's freaking out because they're trying to say it's like the perfect storm like 20 years ago that they actually made a movie about. There's like a cold front, and then there's like a warm front converging or something, and I don't know. They're eating it up. They're eating it up.
Exactly.
They're gonna generate the fear. But although I have seen some of it so far, and there's been some pretty big waves and lots of rain, and Cleveland yesterday, I had a couple of buddies who were over there, and it was pretty nasty. So, because we had a nice day yesterday, it was actually sunny all day. It was cool. It was windy, but you know what? It's cool. That's how we.
I got a lot of mowing done. I got all my stuff done, and I look at it this way: if anytime we get wind that blows like they say it's going to blow and everything, and I'm still looking at my backyard and I see all of my fence, my over 300 feet of fence that I have back there, and it's still all up. That's all right.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, growing up in the Midwest, I actually love all 4 seasons. Here we get the best of everything, and sometimes we get the worst of everything. But I like it because it's cool. It's the fall. We're done with the regular season now on Toledo Sports Network. We do a lot of local high school football games for some local TV here, and it's been a lot of fun. It's the regular season, 10 weeks just flew by, and now we're going to be getting into the playoffs with one of the local teams here in Genoa. So we'll be following their run as far as they go to the state through the state playoffs here in Ohio, and it should be interesting. It should be fun, and then we'll be doing basketball.
Yeah, basketball. We'll have like a week off, maybe. Well, we could have 1 week off, or we could have like 2 or 3 weeks.
Because it'll be late November, right?
Yeah,
we'll be rolling again.
Week of November 30th, it starts. There's like a River East startup game, that we did a couple of years ago, and I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but we may start with that. It just depends. I'm really looking forward to basketball.
Yeah, me too. This is one of my favorite times of the year because there's especially in this area, there's always something to do. Of course, Toledo, we've got kind of a big local hockey contingent in addition to having a big high school sports contingent, and also the last couple of years, the local music scene has really picked up, and there's always something going on. And that's what's fun about this broadcast because there's been a lot of artists that have come through this area, and we sometimes get people locally, as you often do. I think whenever you grow up somewhere, if you've been there for a long time and you haven't seen much else, you kind of get sick of it. It doesn't matter if you're from Fort Lauderdale or Chicago or Toledo. People kind of, I think, get fed up with where they're from, especially if they haven't steps outside of the city limits, so to speak.
Right.
But locally, man, in the Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan area, I mean, we've had a lot going on the last couple of years musically.
It's incredible,
and
it's just incredible. That's why we're doing a Toledo Live show now for PBS.
Yeah,
and I've got some work in with Scott Fish out of Distant Cousins coming up here in December. They're having for their new band album. They're having a shoot at a studio, and we're filming it.
Oh, okay, that's sweet.
And they're going to kind of use that as a DVD for them too. But we're thinking that we may be using Toledo Live at this studio and just do all our shoots there, like on a Wednesday night at this studio. So we're putting some really neat ideas together. We had a nice place to do things, and that kind of fell through. When they don't pay the bills, you have to, because a lot of people, man, that's such a cool show. Why? What do you mean you're not doing new shows now? Why? Well, because somebody didn't pay us.
Yeah.
It's real simple, you know. Get
Yeah.
a nice job, and the bar owner doesn't pay you, then what do you do?
Yeah, and that's one of the downfalls about this area is that there's not a whole lot of I mean, there's opportunities here. Healthcare is huge here. If you have your own business here, that's huge. But outside of that, it is a little dicey
Well,
with
I
the
think
economy.
too many people try to do things, and they don't really have the money to do them.
Yeah.
You know, they're Little Miss Big Men, you know, and that's exactly what happened. And I think he thought that that oh my God, you know, we keep doing this on Tuesday, Wednesday nights. You know, we're gonna pack this bar. It's gonna be packed. Everything's gonna be just unbelievable, and it's gonna be so great. And you know, it is Toledo. You know, and we warned him going into it. He says, you know, you're gonna take a hit here for a few weeks. But I'll tell you what, once people start talking about this, you know, I said, I've got Mike Bauman, who does Bauman's Breakdown, who's got all this stuff going on. Every Monday morning we're out there doing this. So he's like, I don't give a shit. A poop.
Well, you can swear on here. It's
That's
okay.
true.
You can swear. This isn't the local TV, so we can say whatever we want. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, we you know, it was a tough break there, but I do think you'll be able to get that going again, because I really do think that there's enough local venues here that and I've seen it just as a journalist, being able to cover a lot of local music within the last couple of years, and it's been a lot of fun. And one of the bands that's been a lot of fun when they've come here, and not just here, but they're touring regionally and even nationally, is a band called Wilson out of Detroit, Michigan. And Mike, you know the reputation for Detroit. I mean, there's a lot of music that comes out of there, and I've seen several concerts up there with national acts, and the atmosphere is just different in Detroit.
Sure.
I mean, when people come to a show in Detroit, they're ready to have a good time, they're ready to party, and this band, Wilson, absolutely brings that atmosphere to the stage when they play. And they were here in early October, and went down to Frankie's and played over at Frankie's Inner City on the east side here in Toledo. And I mean, these guys, the last 2 years have just been really putting their nose to the grindstone and really working hard to build a name for themselves. They're Standing on the Reel EP, sold out in 2 different pressings. And that really came out in 2010. That really propelled these guys to where they're at now. And they just recorded their debut album recently out in Los Angeles with a pretty cool producer that I will save his name to this interview because I don't want to give everything away in the preview here. But they are absolutely making a lot of noise right now, and they're still an independent band. I think that could change here within the next a couple of months for these guys. Time will tell. Obviously, times are tough, and you know, we've kind of discussed it on the show already. You know, it's not the same as it was for a long time there in terms of the music industry and getting signed in record labels. It's a lot of independent acts right now, and a lot of bands piling up in the van and just getting their name and their show on the road. And these guys have done that. And I had the opportunity to talk to their front man, Chad Nicefield, and he was absolutely a really, really, really nice guy. He was fun. It was fun talking to him. And in this interview, you're going to get the story. You're going to get the background on Wilson, how they came to be. You're going to get the feel for the type of band that they are. The best way I can describe their music is just loud, energetic, and unapologetic. I mean, they are absolutely Detroit rock and roll 100%. And what I mean by that is just they're a band that really loves the music that they play. They really believe in the music that they play, and they make sure when they hit the stage and give it to you, they give 100% every single time that they're up there. I mean, these guys have played shows with various national touring bands. Some of those being Every Time I Die, the Dillinger Escape Plan. They've hit the stage with some big artists, and they've also done some great things on their own headlining shows. A couple other artists that have been there, Escape the Fate, Between the Buried and Me, they've also played with them. And the producer that they worked with, has worked with some of those artists as well, the Dillinger Escape Plan and Every Time I Die among them. So I don't want to ramble too much longer other than to say is I hope you guys get familiar with this band after this interview if you are not familiar with them by now, because they really, really are a great band. They're extremely talented. Chad was a super cool, super nice guy, gave me the green light to give this interview to you guys here on Bauman's Breakdown. So without further ado, I'm going to shut up and give you this interview. This is Chad Nicefield, the frontman for Wilson.
I like Mike. Should you use Michael Weber or just straight Mike?
Just as opposed to just Mike usually. I was supposed to be Colin, but my dad thought that was pretty wimpy. My mom wanted a good Irish name, and my dad thought that was not manly at all. So I ended up with probably the second most common name to Muhammad. So that's kind of how it worked out.
So it was supposed to be Colin, like Kollin?
Like Colin, because I'm really Irish on my mom's side, and I think she thought that would be cute. And my dad is a pretty old school Midwestern guy's guy, I guess you could say. And he was like, "Nope, I'm not having that."
You sound like that sounds like Jason's our guitar player's family. His mother's like super Irish on that side, and his dad sounded like his dad. Your dad's the same as his dad. Funny.
Yeah, my dad's he's a good time, man. He's a good. You guys are from you're not too far from where I'm from. You're from the Detroit area, right?
Yeah. We all kind of live in like the Metro Detroit area currently.
Now,
are you Toledo proper, or are you like Southern Michigan or something?
Right now, I've been in Southern Michigan, for like the last several years, but I'm originally from West Toledo. Yep.
Oh, nice, cool.
Now, for you guys, and for you personally, how long has music been something that you knew you wanted to do in terms of being in a touring band?
As a dude, I would say, I started, the first tour I went on was when I was 20, and that was like 9 years ago. So, I feel like from that point forward, it was pretty clear and present danger that I was going to be doing this and that, until I got too old to sit in the back of a fucking shitty van,
So how did Wilson come about then?
Wilson actually started in Lansing, Michigan. The only surviving original member is our guitar player, Jason. It kind of started as like a fucking like a college party band. They were writing tunes that are still Wilson-esque, and wasn't supposed to be taken too seriously. But then the band got asked to do like a battle of the bands or something, and they needed a name, so they just yelled out Wilson, and Wilson just kind of stuck and went from there. And then after like a few months of doing that, they're like, well, I kind of think we like playing this style of music and doing this thing. And the members that weren't for sure on it kind of left, and I came into place, and then the rest of us came into place, and it's been a solid formed band for the past 2 years.
So was that in homage to Tom Hanks?
No, get that a lot. Actually, it has nothing to do with Castaway or Dennis the Menace or Home Improvement or Sporting Goods or any of the other I guess likelihoods that you would think it would have to do with. But it really just honestly was a drunken banter that I think there's like a Wilson Street, or it was just like one of those old time good old boy type sort of names, and I think it just stuck.
Yeah, I didn't want to ask the obvious crap that you probably get, but I had to. I had to ask that, and seeing some of the videos and sort of the party animal type stuff, I thought that might be close, so I had to ask that.
Yeah, no problem, dude. I appreciate you did.
Now, for you guys coming out of the Detroit area, obviously so many great bands and musicians have come from Detroit. But was there anybody in particular that influenced yourself coming from that part of the world? Yeah, was there any like anybody that's either come out of Detroit or that was part of the scene that you grew up in that influenced your musical style, or no?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons and tons of references that, I mean, especially like some of the older guys in the band who have been playing, in different VFW halls growing up, listening to like punk bands and hardcore bands in our little area for sure. But I mean, dudes that like stick out, in my immediate Detroit influences. I mean, you have the things that like Nick Collins and the Dirt Bombs and all of that. But, those are bands that I was into when I was an early teenager and still am into. But I mean, when we grew up, it was a big like a hall, like the suburban hall scene, like For Dire Life's Sake and bands like Alucard that that are no longer the Suicide Machines and things like that were like the big up and coming bands that we were super stoked on as like teenagers, So I mean, I guess we'd have to definitely pay homage to that thing that existed in our early teenage years. All those like winter, weekends of climbing up hills to get to the top of the VFW, where the VFW hall was, to listen to our favorite like punk rock bands. And there's so many of them back then that like, I mean, I couldn't even begin to like name them all. But I think that's where all of our influence comes from, is that grind, that grind of rock and roll from back then.
Now, did you grow up in like a musical household? Was it something you were always around, or was it something that you kind of sought out and something that grabbed you?
I grew up in a town called Port Huron, Michigan. In my family, there's nobody else that was playing musical instruments in my immediate family or whatnot. My dad was super into rock and roll, and we would sit around listening to like Nazareth records and Thin Lizzy records and T-Rex records and shit like that. And that kind of got my veins pumping. And then I found the band Nirvana in middle school, and me and my like best buddy, decided to start a band, and we just kind of like, fucked around on instruments and kind of got like our aggro youth out and do it. But yeah, no, I never. It was always me and my friends, and none of our families back then really had any sort of musical inclination or played an instrument. So we were just kind of learning from the gravel up,
Now, part of me wants to ask you what it was like to do shows with bands like Every Time I Die and the Dillinger Escape Plan and Escape to Fate, but then also there's part of me that really feels like after seeing some footage of you guys and listening to your music that they probably had just as difficult a time keeping up with you guys, not just from a musical standpoint, but from sort of a party standpoint. So I just wanted to see if you could elaborate a little bit on that and just sort of what it's been like touring and also being able to share the stage with bands like that.
I mean, those are always huge privileges for a band, our size, to be able to go up and play in front of these folks that adore these, larger bands like the ones that you mentioned. And the biggest thing that we're trying to do is play real honest rock and roll music with that party vibe, that thing. You're paying your money to be entertained, and I don't want folks to like hurt each other or stare at the floor at a fucking rock and roll show. They should engage with each other, and I think that's deeply what I think nowadays is missing. And so, music in our musical community or scene, if you will. So what we try to do is go out there and spread that message. I mean, I guess as thoroughly as we can with a half an hour of slamming our faces against a stage and pumping our fists in the air. Like this is your stage. Like this is what you've created. You're here to enjoy it. So let's get that out of you, because you left your house for some reason. You're not sitting around jerking off to Halo this evening, so you might as well sit around and jerk off to rock and roll music in the middle of this fucking dance floor. And I think that like touring and what we do, it only like illustrates that craft to be a little bit, I guess, more perfected. It definitely wears on your body and the things that you have to do. But at the end of the day, like doing what we do is exactly what we want to be doing. So I don't know if I answered that question thoroughly or not. I kind of think
Where does that energy come from for you guys? I mean, because you mentioned, especially with like touring musicians, especially. I mean, unless you've done it, like I don't think anybody really has any idea what it's like to be out on the road and doing shows, either every day or every other day, and sort of that grind. But I mean, like, how do you guys? Is it just the music itself that sort of gets you guys up and ready for every show, whether you're playing in Toledo or you're playing at Dirt Fest?
I'd say it's definitely hardest within ourselves. It certainly doesn't come out of nowhere, and there's these antics that you start to psych yourself up for when you get on stage, and all you really want, really just comes from the energy that we give off. Only gets stronger once it bounces back off of the audience. So every night you play on the road. You can play in front of a great fucking crowd, or you can play in front of the shoegaze crowd that just isn't there to have a good time. So, our goal is to pump those people up, and in turn it just pumps us up. So it's a give and take relationship, I suppose, from the time that the music starts to the time that the music ends.
Now, what's been the craziest show that you guys have done? Was it that show you guys did in Columbus where it was sort of like a house party?
I don't know if that'd be the craziest. It was definitely like the most one of those. We've done tons of those shows where you're crammed in a basement of some dude's fucking like house in the Midwest, and you barely get all your gear and the 100 people that came to the show into it, and everybody's sweating, ripping their clothes off, puking, pissing everywhere. Those are constants for us, I guess, out on the road. I guess when I think about the craziest show that we've played, I can't really name one directly off the top of my head. I suppose maybe Dirt Fest this year is pretty wild. There's a lot of crazy things that happen on stage. Some of our guitar players were like hanging from the top of the stage, and people were going ape shit. And I think there was like a Lollapalooza moment or whatever. I'm sorry, a Woodward. What was the big thing that Limp Bizkit played where they ripped up all of the sod and threw it, and people started like riding wooden rafts? Was it
Oh, was that Family Values?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember. It was anyways, there was people like ripping sod up and throwing it at each other. It was like a real legitimate like dirt mud pit thing going on. So it was crazy to see like the wreckage after you got off stage, and you see these like mud creatures running around. I think Dirt Fest this year was probably one of the crazier shows that we played.
Now, this might sound like a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. For you guys, at least listening to the music and watching the videos, it definitely doesn't seem like there's anything pretentious about what you guys do. It's you believe in the music. It's the music that you want to play. What role has that had, do you think, in you guys being able to develop such a strong core fan base? And I ask that because, obviously there's a lot of bands and a lot of musicians in the music industry that you can kind of tell are just doing it either for the fame or to try to create a certain sound to get on the radio. But I genuinely feel like with you guys, this is the rock and roll that you absolutely want to play. And what role has that had in your fan base?
I think it's pretty evident. For us as dudes, when you meet us, like, there's no frills or bullshit about it. None of us are getting up in the morning and thinking, well, what could I possibly do to make my band bigger or something like that? What songs can we craft, or how can we make this sound this way to appease this audience or find these people at our shows? It's really just about like what we, like what you said, like what we really care about, and the image and the things that we're portraying. Right? There's no fraudulent activity going on. We're just some fucking gnarly weirdo dudes from the Midwest that are, giving it our all. And I suppose like that will come. What we've seen, the success that we've seen at this point is all the people that come to our shows know that. Like they know what they're getting themselves into. If they're a fan of Wilson, they understand the band. And it may be hard for you to grasp at first because you're looking for that thrill, I suppose. a world that like is based around social media activities and how many people are talking about your band or liking this and all that bullshit. We look at ourselves and as a band name's fucking Wilson, dude. Like it's not a very easy name. If you're searching for us on the internet, you're gonna have to jump through some fucking hoops to find us. Especially at this point. It's not like like Color Month Emotion or fucking Twat Sucker 2006 that you can just find instantly and you're gonna find the band. It's something that we know we've carved out our own way. Those people found us. There's nothing fake about it. So I suppose at the end of the day, what we do have in our own little world is a bunch of gnarly rock and roll motherfuckers that are ready to party down with us, and that we understand each other, I suppose.
What was it like to go out in LA and record with Steve? Obviously, he's had a lot of great acts under his belt. I mean, what was that experience like?
Steve Evans is the whip. We instantly got along from the moment that we pulled up to his studio, to the last few hours where we were dangling around staring at Whole Foods chicks' butts before we jumped on the plane. The experience was awesome. It came out of nowhere. We got an email from the dude and decided to. We were all fans of his work in the past, and actually, when we got the email, we thought we were just like getting some spam from him because we signed up on his mailing list or some shit. And so we panned out a plan and went up there and fucking just rocked it with the dude, and we instantly, like I said, personally got along, and musically we understood each other and had the same goals and wanted to attribute the same things to the record. So we left knowing that we created the best piece that we possibly could, and are more than pumped to get it out to show people,
What did he bring to the table as a producer, Chad? Because I really, there's like different producers in the industry that I think some of them you can kind of tell like if they put their stamp on something, and then there's other producers that really work with the artists and try to bring out whatever their sound is. There's a few stories I've done on different bands, like a guy like a Johnny K, for example. He's worked with everybody from like Megadeth to Seven Dust, but he doesn't have like a stamp that he puts on stuff. It seems like he just sort of brings out whatever's good about that band. What was it about Steve that he brought to the table that really worked with you guys?
There's definitely the aspect of what you mentioned with Johnny K, just bringing out what's in the band. The honest truth is, like, we went to Steve because we play our fucking instruments on our records, and we want, nowadays in a digital world, it's easy for some band to say they're going to the studio where they just program some drums and play their guitars through a pod that gets plugged into their computer and is manually manipulated to sound like what they want it to sound like, and blah, blah, blah. Well, with Steve Evans, his stamp is that you're going to get in there and you're going to beat the shit out of your drum kit. You're going to play your fucking guitar the way you stand up to solo, in the studio with Steve Evans. You're not sitting in a comfy chair. You got your fucking foot on the wall and you're ripping some gnarly shreds. Vocally for me, the dude blew my voice out in the first day because he was like, get in there, get the gut out, figure it out, fucking grind, and for him, his stamp, I would say, is commitment. Commit to the sound that you're trying to make. We're not going to manually manipulate this after it's been recorded. This is what you're playing, and this is what it's going to sound like to John Q. Public. So, are you committed to it? Because if you're not, then you should probably not be in my studio right now.
Does any part of you guys, and maybe you don't look at it from this perspective, but does any part of you guys feel like you have like a responsibility or a torch to carry, being from Detroit, to just melt people's faces on a night-to-night basis, or do you not think it from that? Do you not think of it from that standpoint? Do you think of it just from purely from a Wilson standpoint?
No, we were just literally just talking about this in the car. Yeah, there's a big pressure. Detroit doesn't have the same exact steam as it used to have. Like, not that there isn't great music happening, there's tons of it. It's just like, it's not as embraced. There's no big thing happening or big scene scene, like, when Jack White and the Bon Bonnies and all these things were happening, there's this big garage rock scene happening. Even a few years ago, there's like this great, like, eclectic, like, electronic, like, Hall and Oates thing going on. Two pieces like, Dale Earnhardt Jr., bands like Prussia, and this indie rock scene. There was like this little thing bubbling, and then it kind of went away. And so for us, when we're out here on the road and shredding faces, every night, it means a lot to us to get that respect back home and show the respect of how we feel about our city to the rest of the world. Like we were literally just talking about going every time that we go on the road from this point forward, we're gonna do a little mix tape, if you will, of burn CDs of some bands and friends of ours. Like, hey, do you mind if we burn like 100, 200 copies of like a 10-track fucking mix of local Detroit bands that were, Michigan bands that we're into, and give it away to people to try to shed some light on what's happening. Because it's happening, it's just not the camaraderie that used to happen, that used to be there, I should say, back home, and we would like to see that grow. So we're consciously always thinking about where we're from, and what we can do to help, and what place we fit in at, I suppose, in that whole grand scheme of things.
So is Detroit? Is it not cohesive like it used to be because it's competitive, or is it just because there's not like sort of a collection of like you mentioned, either like a hardcore scene or a punk scene or anything like that?
There's not. It's there. It's just, I guess one of the biggest things is like the working band. There's not a lot of those things happening. There's a sporadic. There's like sporadic little peppered spots of places that our bands are going on the road, and really, everybody's honing their craft. Musicianship-wise in Detroit, there's some of the most incredibly sick players that I've ever seen in my life coming out of there. I think that there's like a place for all of that as well, but I just don't. There's not a lot. There's only a handful of bands that are out there like pounding the streets and doing the damn thing. There's definitely a scene of camaraderie happening, but it's not the same, I suppose, when it comes to like busting ass and getting out there. Not to say that's where we're from, so everybody's busting ass. I don't really know how to describe it. It's just kind of like this. There's this air of something needs to pop, something needs to happen. There needs to be, like when you go to a show back home, it's not the same as 3 years ago, even when there's, at least 100, 150 of the same people that go up at the show, but at least they're there. Nowadays, you'll go up and see like a local band on a Thursday night in your hometown or whatever, at the local fucking pub and grub, and there's 20 people, in the room watching them play. That sucks. So I guess trying to do our part to build that a little greater.
Do you guys have a goal in mind as far as a release date for the record?
Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna do it on our own, yeah, we have a goal in mind. If we're gonna go another route, we don't really have like a set date, because of the obvious things that'll change in that process. But we would definitely would like to try to get the thing out, at the very beginning of 2013, in January, beginning of February, that sort of deal.
The tour you guys have coming up in October, this next month, they're on Epitaph, right? The guys you're touring with? They're
a band that just there on Epitaph Records, just there.
I think it's Our Last Night. That's who you guys are going to be with.
Yep, Our Last Night, and a band called The Failing Sky, us, and then I believe a band called The Animal in Me. It's from Sacramento.
Now you guys are, like you guys said, you're still independent at this point, right? But I mean, obviously, Steve's worked with different Epitaph artists. Would that be an ideal landing spot for you guys potentially if that happened?
It's the home doesn't really have a face to us. It's more or less about the people who are working at the home. Our motto when we're bringing a team member on is, we want you to go to work in your blue jeans and come back looking like you loaded a fucking truck that whole entire day. Like you did work, you know, like, I don't care. I don't care what it is that you're doing as long as it looks and feels like you did something. So, you know, you just want to find that the people that believe in you and believe in your product and understand what you're trying to accomplish. And everything else will kind of figure itself out, you know, as long as you have the right team there. We're just not looking like the band's just not looking to be a signed band yet. Like, obviously, those are the great things that can happen for a band in the next level, the next step. But at the end of the day, it's just a fucking bank. So if you don't have a bank that believes in you and your goal, then all you do is just owe that person money, and essentially, you know, you won't find the support that you need, and your band will break up, and you'll still owe them money years to come.
So are you guys still right now while you're doing this? Are you trying to hold down like 9 to 5s to try to keep this ship afloat?
Yeah, all of us work. You know, we go home from tour and we go to work and we work as hard and as much as we possibly can, and then we leave with that money and we spend it all, and then we come back and we work as hard as we possibly can, and we leave with that money and spend it all. It's a recurring cycle every time that we get on the road. Maybe some of us work from the road, so that's nice to be able to like continue to you know, work while you're on the road, and other of us, you know, leave their jobs and hope that they have them when they come back home.
And last thing I'll ask you, Chad, thanks again, man, for taking some time with me today. I appreciate it.
No, you rule, dude.
What experiences do you guys have? Any memories from Toledo and playing shows here?
Yeah, we've had some of the best times and some of the most awkward times in Toledo. Getting used to I think some of the first shows we played, like as a touring band, were, you know, put on by the Verso group, and they have you know, been very, 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 very kind to us. And playing Frankie's for the first time, it was I think it was kind of like an awkward feeling for us, and it's since been like this really awesome awkward home where we always have a good fucking time. You know, we've gone there, we played the Jamboree, and, you know, did that big festival down there. We played headliners, but every time we go there, we pretty much always play Frankie's. So, I mean, the people that work there fucking rule. The people that book the place fucking rule. We always have a good time. We get drunk, and everybody leaves full and happy, I suppose.
Yeah, they always have Paps there for a pretty reasonable price. I imagine for the band too, they hook you up with that.
16-ounce cans, dog.
Well, Chad, thanks, man. I really appreciate the time, and I hope 2013's a good year for you guys, man, for sure.
Feel the same for you, Mike.
Alrighty, so there it was, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. That was Chad Nicefield, once again, from Wilson out of Detroit, Michigan. And I had a lot of fun talking to the guy. He was super nice. He was funny. We just had a really good time talking to each other in that interview. And I'm pulling for these guys, man. I think they're a really good band, and I think that they have something that once it gets to more ears and more ears and more ears, it's going to continue to snowball from them. I mean, Mike, when you think about it, I mean, this is a band whose name is Wilson. If you Google...
I dated a Wilson. That girl last name is Wilson. Every time you say it, it's like a stab in my stomach.
Oh, yeah? Why? She wasn't a good one?
Oh, no, she was great.
She was good from far, but far from good?
No. I blew it.
You blew it? Well, you can't just throw that out there and not tell the people about it a little bit. Let's hear a little bit about this.
Oh, she was just a very, very nice girl about 20 years ago, and I'm about ready to write a song about it. It was a beautiful summer. It was just a great summer.
So it was a summer fling?
Yeah, I had been dating a girl for a long time, almost 9 years, and we actually had broken up. And a week later, I had met this girl, and I used to be a DJ at one of the hottest nightclub in town back then. And this girl just kind of, "Hey, Mike," and she was drop dead gorgeous, still is, and
Oh yeah, your Facebook creeping her. That's a yes.
No.
There was a long pause and then a laugh.
She lives way far away now. So
does she?
Yeah, but she got a little too serious too early in it, and I still wasn't over the other girl. I said, just give me a little space. So she
gave you some space.
Took my car and trashed my car. Yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting 3 or 4 days.
What? So there was like a jaded lover there?
Yeah.
What'd she do to your car?
Well, I had a Mustang GT 5-speed, brand new. It was the Rocket, and kind of took it for a ride on a gravel road. Dropped the clutch, full speed on a gravel road. Just tore the paint all up on it, and yeah, it was interesting. Boy, thanks for letting me remember all these wonderful things.
Hey, it's not my fault. The band that we did this week, that their name was Wilson, and it brought back some repressed memories for you. But
good people, though.
Yeah.
People.
But as far as creating memories for the future, like I just made up a future for the future. It's early in the morning, folks.
Yes, it is. Yes.
We do this at 8 a.m. on Monday, so cut me some slack, all right? But no, as far as creating memories for the future goes, make sure you check out Wilson, especially locally. If you're in Toledo, these guys are actually going to be back here on November 21st, and it's going to be a free show at Frankie's. They're going to be playing with a really good local band who's making a lot of noise locally, the Strong Talk. Along with another...
That's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving,
exactly,
isn't it? Yeah,
exactly.
Boy, that's going to be a heck of a night.
Exactly. You know what's up, and you heard about the fellas in the last interview. They love them some Pabst Blue Ribbon, and there's a lot of it flowing over there at Frankie's.
Oh,
but
gosh,
Wilson is going to be playing with the Strong Talk, another really good local band, as I was just saying, if you haven't checked them out, as well as React and Michael Corwin. And I actually just... had a story that I wrote about React. They're another really good local band. So the lineup for this is going to be pretty gnarly at Frankie's Inner City. If you go check that out on November 21st for that Thanksgiving show, it's free if you're 21 or older, and it's only $3 if you're under 21 to go check this out. So
wow.
With those 4 bands, you really can't pass that up. The doors are at 9. Once again, it's at Frankie's on the east side in Toledo. For those of you who might be coming from Southeast Michigan or some of these other areas, if you don't know where that's at, just check out frankiesinnercity.com, get more information. And I want to make sure I give Wilson a plug. Go to their Facebook page, facebook.com/Wilson Parties, and also their website is wilsonpartyanimals.com. I mean, they're just fun guys, Mike, and they make really, really good music. And it's cool for me doing this because I like being able to mix it up, not just with this show, Bauman's Breakdown, because I've given you guys national artists that you've been familiar with. I've given you guys the last 2 episodes were a good local band at Tropic Bombs that a lot of you outside of this area may have not been familiar with if you're listening from other parts of the country or the world. And this is a band, Wilson, that I think is kind of in the middle of those two. I think they're a band that... they've built a national following because they've toured nationally, but they're still an independent act, and there's so much music out there, and they're getting on the cusp, I think, of becoming one of those bands that you see more and more and more and hear more and more and more of, and couldn't happen to better dudes. I had a lot of fun talking to Chad, and I hope you guys had fun listening to it. So... thanks again. I can't believe it, Mikey. It's episode 6 of Bauman's Breakdown now, buddy. We got the ball rolling with this. And thank you for everybody who's checked it out over at baumansbreakdown.podbean.com, man. I mean, we've got over 600 views we went over this week. And from being a nobody from Toledo, Ohio, I'm not famous on any level. I'm not recognized.
Sexy.
I'm not recognized nationally or anything like that, man.
It's
and
like,
so
this
thing is just spreading by word of mouth. And so if you are checking it out every week, if you've subscribed to it for free on iTunes, which you can do, by the way, go to iTunes, type in Bauman's Breakdown. You can subscribe to this puppy for free. Say
it again.
Free. Wow, I like that. But yeah, man, I'm so happy that I've been able to build that in a short amount of time, and I realize that the cyberspace space is quite big and very very large and filled with lots of people and lots of things. So for little old me to get over 600 views 5 episodes in, I realize there's some people getting 1 million hits on stuff. And if you're Psy with Oppa Gangnam Style,
oh my God.
How does weird stuff like that catch on, by the way?
Or that Boo Boo Girl or whatever her name is.
Oh, don't even get me started on them people, man. Pimping out their 7-year-old girl like that. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Right.
But point being, man, I'm so excited that people are actually checking this thing out. It makes me feel good to know that
you got good interviews. That's the thing, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
our talk sucks, but you know, you gotta have a little of both.
I don't think so. I think they're getting a gist for us now. I think they're picturing
some young guy and some old guy. Kind of weird. Is there a white van involved?
I think they're picturing you with your 70s mullet and your brown tinted sunglasses.
Exactly.
He really doesn't have a mullet, folks.
No.
By the way, I know I've kind of driven that home the last couple of weeks and, you know, driven that point to the ground, but he really doesn't have a mullet. He's kind of like if you saw him.
George Clooney with a fat ass.
Talk about self-deprecating. Geez, I was just going to say George Clooney.
I don't deprecate unless I'm in the bathroom.
And you just
we're out of toilet paper. Thanks.
You just shut yourself right down on a really, really low level. But thank you. Thank you very much to whoever you are and wherever you are who are listening to this. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you've discovered some new music that maybe you weren't aware of without this podcast. And I also hope that you got some more detailed information on some of the bands that you are a real big, huge fan of, and you discovered me. So thank you very much. You can check me out at Twitter at mbauman5. I'm on there. You can get my story links. I tweet those all the time, and I have little goofy things that I like to say every now and again because I'm a little whimsical. And you can also go to ToledoFreePress.com and search my name, Mike Bauman. You'll find all my handiwork over there. And also ToledoSportsNetwork.com if you want to see what I look like because you're creepy and you have to put a face to this voice that you hear. I challenge you to go figure that out because there's pictures of me on the internet and they're not
There's movies of you on the internet.
Well, let's not go that far, okay? I'm just trying to get this career started. Let's not drag up the skeletons from the closet.
Football. You're doing football.
So yeah, so you can go to ToledoSportsNetwork.com. Check out.
Mike say, "Hi everybody."
Oh, yeah. Hi everybody. Welcome to another broadcast. That'd be like Matt Foley. You'll be doing plenty of time for doobie rolling when you're living in a van down by the river.
That's where I'm going to be living. So.
Rip Chris Farley, man. I miss that guy.
Yes.
But yes, thanks for checking it out. Thanks for checking this one out. And once again, check us out, ToledoFreePress.com, ToledoSportsNetwork.com, and check out Wilson. WilsonPartyAnimals.com, Facebook.com/WilsonParties. Keep an eye for their debut album sometime in the new year, sooner rather than later. It's going to come out likely early 2013. So until next time, folks, once again, thanks. And remember, keep the faith and be kind to one another. Peace.